debut rally in Eldoret yesterday, a political backyard of Deputy President William Ruto, was an indication that there was nothing such as the Jubilee stronghold as widely perceived. On the flip side, we've also seen Deputy President William Ruto pulling huge crowds in Western Kenya, an area perceived to be an NASA stronghold. So, does the attendance of a rally necessarily translate to political popularity? Meanwhile, in the Rift Valley, the rivalry between Deputy President William Ruto and Baringo Senator Gideon Moi is taking on a fresh momentum, with Moi declaring his party KANU's support for President Uhuru Kenyatta, and that should not be construed to mean support for Deputy President William Ruto. What does that mean for Ruto and the Jubilee Party? Talk to us. The hashtag is GamePlan2017. You can also text us. The SMS number is 22422. In studio tonight, MP Kimani Ichung'wah and political commentators Herman Manyora and Javas Bigambo. Thank you, gentlemen, for making time for us tonight. But first, we begin with the latest. That is what has happened in Dagoretti this evening. Let's have a look. This was in Dagoretti North constituency, a football tournament sponsored by John Kiare. Peter Kenneth was apparently the guest of honor. Sonko and his supporters also came there, and immediately he came there. Sonko came there with Dagoretti South MP Dennis Waweru, and after that there was a clash with the supporters of Sonko and Peter Kenneth. Right, that's what happened a few hours ago. I'll start with you, Bwana Manyora. What do you make of that?
Of course, this is a season of madness. We expect to see a lot more of this. But again, then it is a neutralizer, if you ask me. Because the kind of things Jubilee has been saying about court when things like this happen. So when they also happen in their backyard, it kind of neutralizes. So that going forward, they would know that these kind of things are normal in a political scenario such as ours. A little primitive, but well, it's part of what we do.
But we should always condemn violence.
There is no alternative to peace.
Right.
Yeah.
What do you make of it, Javas?
Well, it's known to us that comes the hour, comes the man. The most unfortunate thing is for the hour to come and the man does not arise, or the man is not there. What we find in the situation in Nairobi, going by this indication, is that, yes, while all of them are men of ambition who've entertained the thought of becoming or being elected as governor of Nairobi, the thing is this: none of them has seemed to be well prepared enough that to make it nearly clear to their supporters or to the electorate in Nairobi that this kind of individual fits most the bill to be governor, and that's why they're jostling for this. The tragic thing here is that we are making the contest in Nairobi, and as it shall be perhaps in most parts of the country, an issue of going for each other's jugular. It must not be a matter of life and death. The way it has seemed here is that possibly it could be a political barometer. Question is this the sign of things to come as we go into the August election?
Right. Is it an indication that Jubilee has now, it's a failure by, the aspirants, governor aspirants, who were given time by the president and the deputy president, which was actually the end of February, which is tomorrow, to decide who is going to go for this ticket? Is it an indication that it has become impossible to decide who's going to do it?
Well, let me say I'm not very knowledgeable as to what goes on in Nairobi's politics in terms of who their negotiations or any discussions, if there have been any whatsoever, on agreeing on a particular candidate to run for governor. But I want to say from the onset that it's very embarrassing. I also feel embarrassed as a member of the Jubilee coalition to witness this kind of violence, and I would urge all political aspirants, be it in Nairobi or anywhere else in this country, as my colleagues have said, it's time for politics, but high voltage and volatile politics is not good for the country.
Right.
And therefore, all leaders have a responsibility, one, to maintain and preach peace, and I think I've heard the Deputy President say that today in church in Kericho.
Okay.
Two, is also good for aspirants and political players to respect each other's political space. The fact that I have a function somewhere, you don't necessarily need to hold a meeting at the same venue, same day.
Sadly, that doesn't seem to be happening now, especially in Nairobi with what we witnessed today. How dangerous do you think this is for Jubilee in Nairobi politics 2017?
Let me not use the word dangerous.
Oh, so you're also in the Jubilee. You're in the Jubilee party. I mean, you would want to see Jubilee clinch the Nairobi governor's position.
We definitely will clinch the governor's seat in Nairobi. One, because largely the people of Nairobi, and I also live in Nairobi as much as I don't vote in Nairobi, people are largely disappointed by the Kidero administration and the ODM regime that has been running Nairobi. Therefore, the challenge for us as a party, and that's what you should be asking me, is to make sure that we come up with modalities of either through nominations or even consensus to agree on a candidate who is best suited to remove these useless...
But that, you said that is what I should be asking you. That is exactly what I'm asking you. Because they were given until the end of February.
Let me say the challenge...
It doesn't seem to be happening given by what happened today.
The challenge, I can tell you, it's quite difficult. As you can see how volatile the situation is. It's quite difficult because it looks like it's a team that calls itself Team Nairobi and the Peter Kenneth team to sit and agree, and I am not aware that they have even held discussions. Maybe the team that call itself Team Nairobi, maybe those ones have been having discussions even from the way they've been working together. Okay. But between them and the Peter Kenneth group, I don't think there have been any discussions, and that's what I'm saying now is a challenge to the party and to the Jubilee followers in Nairobi to come up with means and ways of identifying a good person who will bring to an end the Kidero regime in Nairobi.
Okay. You see, what I was saying is, I said neutralizing. You see, if this, what DP Ruto has always said, that NASA, and before that there was called, have been unable to sort out the matter who is a presidential flag bearer, as if it was always a cup of tea, not knowing that it's a difficult thing to go through, to navigate. Now, if people were to talk the way he talks, then they will also tell him, you see, if you are unable to fix a small thing like deciding who becomes the candidate in Nairobi. And now, you see, what you ask this gentleman, and which is shy, and which he should have told you, is that these kind of things will have a bearing on how they perform in Nairobi. I've said before, Kidero has not performed well. It's not a secret. Anybody will tell you, if you live in Nairobi, Kidero has performed below par. But then, your team is not looking like they remove him.
Well, first, it's not in the place of whether it's the deputy president or the president to determine who becomes the candidate for Nairobi. Democratically speaking, it is incumbent upon the people to go and determine who becomes that candidate through nomination. Of course, these parties need to come up with clear nomination rules. But here now, the most unfortunate thing, what I think we need to be focusing on moving forward as a country is this. When this kind of issues start arising, how do we need to position, or how do we need to have institutions rising that can take care of such situations so that it does not degenerate into a very chaotic period for elections? Well, sibling rivalry is permissible, and what we are seeing happening in Jubilee is permitted in a democratic space. However, now other institutions, for instance, whether it's National Cohesion and Integration Commission, the Kenya National Commission on Human Rights, and even political parties themselves as public institutions, need to rise and not only condemn these kinds of happenings, but find a mechanism on how we can channel energies, political energy in this country in such a manner that it is beneficial and not in a manner that is detrimental to our political space.
I think even IEBC as an institution, just to add to what he's saying, has a role. Because you remember, in the run-up to elections, IEBC does ask candidates to even provide a program of activities to ensure that you are not at the same place at the same time to avoid this kind of clashes. But I think, as I said, the challenge is for us as a party to decide and have a candidate.
I will see. I mean, time will tell how this will evolve.